Hello everyone, this is Gabriela Serrano with HomeSmart, and today we're having a class and we're going to be talking about how to read a proper preliminary report. And for that today, I do have two specialists, title report reps, and to my right, I have...
I'm Harold Zapata with Fidelity National Title.
And I'm Julie Moreno with Fidelity National Title. The reason why we're here today is to go over how to read the preliminary title report. Harold and I are always talking to our clients and highly recommending that you guys do get that listing prelim ordered as soon as you get your listing agreement signed, because it allows you to, or it gives us the opportunity to be able to catch any red flags or any errors that could possibly be showing up on the preliminary title report. So today, my partner is going to break it down for you guys, and if you guys have any questions, let us know.
When you have a chance to look at all the documentation, the actual training material that we can see on the screen here, head on over to teamjulieandharold.com. And this screen on the very, very far right, if you click on title and escrow, then you're going to have a lot of information. What you'll see here on the second line, it's how to read a prelim. So, to that effect, what's a preliminary title report? So if you want to take your information here, and for those watching on YouTube, you'll be seeing these pages pop up on the screen, because we'll be doing that in post-edit. So the very first thing that you see here on the very first page is the actual Fidelity National Title. Let's talk about Fidelity. So Fidelity does between 1.3 to 1.5 million title orders a year. We are not only the US, but we're the nation and the world's largest title insurer. So let's talk about that. There's a difference between a title company and a title insurer. Okay, so for insurers, there's only about 4 or so in the whole United States. You got the biggest, which is Fidelity. Then you have First American Title. You'll have Stewart Title and Old Republic. So these 4 are actual title insurers. Let's talk about insurance. Don't forget the preliminary title insurance report. It's title insurance. So why do we have a car insurance? Why do we have life insurance? Why do we have home insurance? Insurance deals with something that could happen in the future. Somebody breaks into your car. You know, the window's damaged, something happens to your house, God forbid something happens to you or me. It's a future event. But title insurance is a little different. Title insurance insures for a past event. So let's talk about the past events. So imagine you're in your home watching your favorite football game, and all of a sudden somebody knocks on your door and they say, "This house was my granddaddy's, and it's now in his title and in his will, and now it belongs to me. And this is actually my house." So that's something that happened in the past, right? A solar company comes knocking on your door saying, "Excuse me, yeah, but I'm owed $36,000, and I need to be paid up. You're the owner." Well, wait a minute. What? That happened in the past. Somebody else didn't pay it. They could come and mess up your football game. That's not going to be good, even if your team is winning. Imagine that. Now you have an issue. So for issues like that in the past, there is an insurance for that. And we call that title insurance. What do I mean title? Title is who has the right to possess and enjoy this property? The owner. So how do you give evidence of that? Well, title has been passed from the previous owner to the new owner, and usually is evidenced with a deed of trust. Or maybe a bank is loaning somebody money on it, and they want to secure their interest in giving that borrower that amount of money, so they're going to have an insurance policy. So title insurance insures for the owner stuff that could have happened in the past. And if somebody does come and knock on the door and say, "Hey, it's my granddaddy's," and title with all their research didn't find it out, guess who's paying for it?
You are. We are, yeah.
No, you're not paying for it. The title company is paying for it because you paid for it. Now, The thing with future insurance, health insurance, life insurance, car insurance, home insurance, you're paying for it each and every month.
Right.
How often? Forever.
Yeah.
I hope you have a house that you're paying for it forever. Nothing happens to it. Your health, hopefully, your life. When you got your car, you have to be paying it forever. Title insurance, you pay it once and forget about it. And we have the biggest, sometimes the biggest isn't the best. And other times the biggest is the best. Because in our case, you want to make sure you have a really old, one of those musty, old, big title companies. Because you want to make sure that they're there 50 years, 100 years. So so we have different title companies. Fidelity, 180 years old. Imagine that.
That's amazing.
Fortune 200 company, 13 billion with a B dollar a year revenue. It's a pretty big boy. And I would also say with between 1.3 to 1.5 title orders each and every year, the best thing you can do, and you are a real estate agent, you're representing the buyer. Don't forget, the title policy is something that the seller, current seller, is giving to the buyer. So you want to always protect your buyer, right? And so you want to make a difference in your mind between title companies and title insurers. And when the title insurer is also a title company, then you know that you have really good things that are happening. And I'm sorry that I'm biased, but in this case, the biggest is the best. More than likely, we weathered a lot of storms, and we're still here, and we're bigger and better than. And if you like to invest, we're about $49 a stock right now. It's many people love the investment part of Fidelity. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things about a preliminary title report. First of all, a sample. What is a Schedule A? What is a Schedule B? What is the requirements section? What are the informational notes section? What does it mean to be vested? Different ways that people could be vested. The difference between a living revocable trust or family trust versus people that don't have a trust. And I will also say this, it's a great conversational piece to have with your client when you see that it's vested in their name, and for about $1,000 they can get it into a living trust, revocable trust. Is California so happy? And if it's in your name, they have an opportunity to go after your property because it's in your name. But if the moment you put into a trust, your car into a trust, anything into a trust, it's unreachable. So that's a great conversational piece for you as a real estate agent to talk to them and say, hey, yeah, the prelim here, yeah, and it's vested in your name. Yeah, is there a reason why you haven't put it into a trust? What is that? You're gonna have a friend for life. Yeah. So maybe with the next home they're gonna buy, because they're selling it right now, it's not, but the next one, you wanna make sure that they're doing, or if it's a buyer, hey, look, they got it into their own name. Yeah, I encourage you, right now, let's close escrow, okay? But here's the number of a couple of people that can do living trust. As soon as you can, get into a living trust, right? But all that adds more benefit for you as the buyer's agent, for you as the listing agent, right? So any questions up to this point before we get started? Pretty clear, pretty simple, right? So that's why we want to look at the importance. Because again, when I was selling real estate, I got it back in my days. I just put it inside of my little folder with my other documents, and I didn't care. If there's an issue, escrow will tell me. Trust me that you don't want to have that mentality. Take 5 minutes and read our texts, because we read it, we send you, so it's memorialized on your cell phones, everything that we found, and please just take 5 minutes to read it, read up on it, match it, and then submit them to your seller, submit them to your buyer, because the law says both parties need to have this, right? So pretty important. So, okay, first of all, why then the word preliminary? Preliminary. It's not saying that it's not official, but a preliminary or an interim or preliminary title report is basically saying, look, we're going to give you insurance on this property but not right now. It's gonna be subject to the exceptions, subject to the requirements that are found in Schedule A and Schedule B of the report. And if all of them are met, then at the end of escrow, we will issue the owner's title insurance for the buyer, who's not gonna become the new owner. And we're gonna issue to their lender if they have a loan. If it's a cash deal, it doesn't exist. But if they have a loan on it, then we will secure a deed of trust to the lender to secure the mortgage for $585,000, right? So those things happen at the end of the close of escrow. So it's called preliminary because you're open escrow. And it's not gonna be issued to the end of escrow, so long as that meets all the requirements and stipulations in the report. So anybody asking, hey, why is it called a prelim? Because you're not getting the title insurance yet. You're gonna get it at the close of escrow so long as these exceptions are met, these requirements are met in this report. So a title company will have different departments. One of them is gonna be a department that's just looking into the chain of title, the history of a property. A preliminary title report basically is a snapshot of that property from the day it was conceived. So you'll see some CC&Rs, for example, they go all the way back. You'll see some utility easements, public utility easements, they go all the way back to 1920, 1919, 1917. Because that's how it goes, it's part of the chain of title from the very origin. Some of the newer preliminary title reports, you're gonna see, for example, a new home community, the builder requiring, hey, that there's no class action lawsuit. So they're gonna have special actions to clear them from class action lawsuits. So anyway, so there are also Millerus, which are special fees that people are paying on top of the regular, capped property tax at 1.25%. And Millerus is just a little bit more they gotta pay for maybe a new this, that, or the other, road, stadium, whatever it is that the people voted on, and you as a property owner are paying a little bit more on. So all those little things you get to see in the beautiful preliminary title report. So today, let's get into the samples right now. And to that effect, let me encourage you to take what you have here in front of you. Again, our guests watching via YouTube, you're gonna see this expand on your screen right about now. So first and foremost, you'll see the first page. It says preliminary title report on the top, Fidelity National Title. And the first thing I'd like to bring to your attention to your top right is the prelim number. Now the prelim number, at least here in Southern California, you're gonna have different letters. For Fidelity National Title, we belong to the Inland Empire, this part of Riverside County, and San Bernardino County. And so both of them are gonna start with IE. So don't forget, this is the preliminary title report number. This is not the escrow number, okay? So make a differentiation in your mind, because when you have an escrow agent, they can get confused really quick. Well, I'm sorry, but IE 2406333, that's not our escrow number. And so now you know, no, it should not be. This is the prelim number. So with title, that's how we're going to look at everything on that property, is with the prelim number. But with escrow, your escrow officer has another number. So I just wanted to make that clear there. Then on the very top left, you're gonna see the title officer. Let's talk about title officers. A title officer is a person who's been vetted. Many of them are with the company for decades. They stay with the company for decades. The company invests in younger TOs, title officers, with the understanding that more than likely they'll be with the company 30, 40, 50 years. That's why when you talk to escrow officers, many of them have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years. Because it's more important than a bank. You go to your banker and they have security and they deal with X amount of money in that bank every day. Title, escrow, they deal with 10 times more amount of money in wire transfers than a bank does. it's a big deal, right? So you want to have someone who's been there for a long time. With our company here in the Inland Empire, for example, Brian Smith, he just had 40 years, celebrated his 40th year anniversary. It's a big deal, right? Atencio, we have a lot of great title officers, and you want to know that you're partnering. Sometimes the biggest is not the best, and sometimes it is. Title officer, all the information of the company, right here, reference number, and then the property. So you want to make sure that you're reading the property address correctly, right? There have been issues where maybe you asked for a preliminary title report and it was a digit off. Make sure you have the right address. Now, I will say this right now on this deal. If you have an address with a house or a condo or a PUD on it, cool. Just give us the address and also give us the person's, the seller's name. But if it's a property that it's only vacant land, then we need the APN, the assessor's parcel number. And that's the only way that the title officer can do the research on that specific lot, right? Because the county is gonna get the taxes, and every address actually they're known by an APN, whether it be vacant land, whether it be a home, condo, a PUD, PUD, we're gonna make sure that we have the right address. And at the bottom, you're gonna see who the authorized officer, usually a county manager. And that's one thing I do wanna say. Our county manager, Mike Genest, he's just so proactive. He'll literally, if we have any type of issue, literally will speak to you. He is the one who signs on this. It's his signature. And so he stands behind it. So he's not so high up there that you can't reach him. And we've had opportunities to introduce even someone who are here to him. One of the greatest guys that I know. We're a great guy. Okay, so that's just the first page on this preliminary title report. Pretty simple. Now let's get into the meat, right? We're going to talk about this whole Schedule A in the process. So you're going to find first and foremost the type of policy that we're going to issue. The highest expression of policies that we can issue is the ALTA, the American Land Title Association policy. It's the highest policy that we have. There's a lower policy or another policy, not so much lower, but it covers a little bit less. It's called the CLT, the California Land Title Association policy. And those may be mostly for like vacant land, for example, but the highest form of our policy is the ALTA. And it calls it policy of title insurance. Again, I go back to this thought. When your title insurer is also your title company, it's good. It's good for you, it's good for your client. I'm not putting title companies or pushing them under the bus, but title companies all have to be underwritten. Unless your name is Fidelity and all of its companies, First American, Stewart, or Old Republic, I could be missing one more. But unless it's those four names, every other title company that you see, they have to get underwritten by one of those four.
Really?
All of them. Again, the difference between a title company and a title insurer. And I'm saying that because of the ALTA policy that we have here. It's an insurance policy. Let's talk about ways that the states are held in interest in the land. There is, and y'all who took the test, you remember when you took the test, right? Remember, fee simple.
Right, you own the land.
From the Old English fifth, from the feudal era, and we can get into all that, but you are the actual owner of the land, its mineral rights, all the way to the center of the earth, and also owner of everything that's up in the space.
You're right, yes.
You have the bundle of rights. Remember all those questions that you had to study? Well, this comes here, at least in this first part, fee simple, right? Meaning it's the highest form of ownership, right, that you can have. Versus, remember, what's the other one? Leasehold estate.
Right.
And leasehold estate can be, it can be for term, for the life of a person or whatever, but you're really not the owner of the land. You may be the owner of the improvement on the land, the appurtenances of the land. Anything that's fixed and cannot be moved, in Spanish, an inmueble, it cannot be moved out of the land. The structure, the building, the condo, the house, but not the land. Okay? And so that's why it's so important that you have a title rep that will read that with you and it'll be hyperlinked. So let me get title reporting this. When you get the preliminary title report, don't open it on your browser. Open it as a PDF, because the hyperlinks become hyperlinkable when it's a PDF. And you're able to click on it to see what did the association vote for how long the length of term for the lease on that property will be. What was the blessing that the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, gave to that decision, right? So it's more than it meets the eye. We're like a transformer. All right. Number 2, title is said to said estate is vested in. Let's talk about different ways of vesting, right? And again, you are never to be giving vesting advice. That's one of the questions also in the test. Right? We don't talk about vesting advice. But you let title and your escrow officer handle that. But there are different ways of vesting. Vesting is how you take estate interest in the fee simple or leasehold estate. In this case, we have a man, and we've redacted his name. But let's just say his name is Alan. And sometimes it can be Alan and Deborah. It can be husband and wife. In this case, Alan is a single man. Alan can be a married man, but is vested as this property is sold in separate interest. So it means it's him alone, not his wife. Right. Alan can be a single man. It can be the Alan Smith Revocable Living Trust. That can be also an entity, many entities. We hope that you have a meaningful conversation with your buyers or sellers about having a living trust, right? It gives you more of an in with them. Sometimes the owner of it is an LLC. It could be ABC Investment Company, LLC. And I'm saying that because how you are vested in the property is going to be evidenced in the SI, in the Statement of Information. If it's only you, then you need to fill out stuff as a Statement of Information, and it has to be true. Signatures need to match. They're going to ask you where you lived before. They're going to get a little bit into your stuff because there's a lot of fraudsters out there. But you know that the biggest fraud right now taking place at this very second, and this is being filmed the 13th, Friday the 13th. I got good vibes. 2024 is absentee ownership fraud. You know how many absentee owners we have in Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area? A lot of people that actually live in Minnesota or in LA or in Canada. And right now, that's the biggest form of fraud taking place. You want to talk to your title rep and your escrow officer so that they can inform you on the ways of being proactive with your clients about absentee fraud. It has even overtaken the fraud that we used to have a couple of years ago with the wire transfer fraud that we've all been talked about many times. That's secondary now to the absentee fraud. How you take vesting is so important. Have a good conversation with them. Know more about that and give them, LA National Title. We got a paper for that. We're going to make sure we're going to email you that so that you copy it and give it over to your people so that they're aware that we're not going to let that happen. In this here, it says the following. Number 2, Alan, a single man, right? Subject to item. So let's talk about that. Subject to. So sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. It means that in the exceptions, in Schedule B, you're going to find, Schedule A, Part 2, you're going to find that there could be an exception to how he's vested. And we're going to see that a little bit later. So it's kind of like, dun-dun-dun. Keep an eye on number 14 coming up. Okay, very, very important. All righty. Let's move on. The land, of course, is going to be the next one, Exhibit A. And let me talk about Exhibit A. Exhibit A is going to be attached pretty much to the deed. Exhibit A is the APN, the description, how the county recognizes that property. You may know it as, 123 Main Street. They know it as something completely different. It's going to be a tract number, with a lot number, with an accessor parcels number. That's the official way that the county recognizes that property. So that's all. But that Exhibit A is always at the back as like almost always the second or third page on almost any document that has to do with when it's being recorded. Always see Exhibit A, Exhibit A, Exhibit A. So just have that there for you. Now, I will do this. If the property is good in the first page, the address, it's cool, move on. But if it's a vacant land, please, please, make sure the APNs match. Because we're not perfect either. People have fingers. Nobody is perfect, right? So if you have a vacant land, make sure the APN that you have matches the APN in the top right of Exhibit A legal description. That's the main thing that we do with vacant land, okay? Moving on forward, now we're moving into the exceptions portion. And the exceptions are so important. Let's read it together. The first 5 or 6 are pretty much part of a title insurance policy itself. They're going to basically say, look guys, any property taxes that haven't been evidenced here, yeah, we're not going to pay. Covenant restrictions that are not addressed here, yeah, we're not going to pay. These are the exceptions. Okay, so these are a couple of them. Liens, supplemental taxes that haven't been paid, water rights, all easements, yeah, they're all here. These are the ones that we'll take care of. But if they're not here, yeah, we're not taking care of them. And so that's just for you to know. Why would it be called exceptions, right? That's why it's called exceptions. The first 5 here in this case are pretty much standard policy. But now we get into 6 onward for this illustration. Easements 4, and now we start from the oldest to the newest. In this case, starting in 1936. Now, are you going to click each and every hyperlink? No, I'm not going to do it. They have been there for eon, almost 100 years, right? But yes, for you to know what has happened easement-wise, CC&R-wise, from there to here. So the regular public, let's talk about public utility easements. What does that mean? It means that the Metropolitan Water District, it's not called that anymore. Right? But whatever water district has the right to go into your property to fix stuff. Right? The electrical company, Edison, gas company, water district, solar. Okay, you're going to see them outlined right here. Telephone company. It's just the easements of, hey, wait a minute, why are you coming, Mr. Gas Man, Mr. Electrical Man, why are you coming to my property? Oh, because I have the right to. What gives you the right? An easement. These easements give the public utilities companies the right to do stuff in your home. That's all it is. So number 6, number 7, number 8, you can see them with their names. So the California Edison, General Telephone Company. You can see the years going to the next one. Okay, now we get into number 10, the declarations of the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the CCRs. The CC&Rs, basically, it's how to use the property. You can't paint the house purple. You can't have a mobile home parked out front or your big boat. And it's going to tell you. And it starts from when it started, again, from recording dates from the past. This is 50 years old, 1971. And moving all the way up, you can see each and every modification that was voted by the HOA or the governing bodies to modify the CC&Rs. And so if you can't sleep at night and you want to read that, what happened in 1971, go ahead, go click on it. Just make sure you're not opening it on the browser, it has to be PDF. And you can see this is a lot of them. And it goes to page now 5, page 6, page 7. Okay, all right, so and let's not read this too quickly. Let's start by here, number 13. You can see there's a lien. Now, what's a lien? Remember we did the studies and we gotta get a license. A lien is a what?
A lien could be anything like a mechanic's lien. You owe money to a general contractor. You say you didn't pay the bill, you went and they're gonna put a lien on your house, meaning that the day you sell your house, I'll be one of the first people to get my money. You owe property taxes from 2 years, guess what? That's another lien.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the ones getting the proceeds before you do.
Great, so you can't
And
sell this
also the
home.
water department, Desert Water is now leaning.
And we're actually talking about that right here in this one.
Okay.
In this here. So let's say you didn't pay a bill. Let's say IRS, child support, spousal support. The number one, actually, before anybody else gets paid, you know who it is?
The property taxes.
even for property taxes. Mechanics. Mr. Mechanic, the general contractor, yeah, that's the numero uno.
That's what I
Property
said.
taxes and judgments and all those, all these things happen here. Okay. But in this case, number 13, if you read it too quickly, you would have, so don't read it that fast, but there's an amount of $8,087 in this example. And it's for a water district. There's a notice of assessment. This was recorded back in 2019. So what does that mean to you as a real estate agent? If you see abstract of judgment, if you see, we're going to see here in a moment, the next one is the deed of trust to secure a loan. If you see a lien, that could be mechanics, it could be IRS, it could be
City,
yes.
the city and the county.
See, they can definitely, let's say that you did not vacate land. You had a sofa, an old sofa that you never took out there. And they're assessing every year because you didn't take it. When you're gonna go sell your house, wait a minute. And you gave them maybe a wrong mailing address and you did not know that every year they're assessing you because somebody's gotta pick up that old sofa from there.
Yeah, or you have a car that doesn't work, guess what?
And it's
Don't
part
take
of it,
pictures,
absolutely,
and
they
they
will.
can come back twice a week.
Vacant land, if you have any structure that has not been permitted, like a half a fence, something that's kind of wobbly, you're gonna find out. And this is gonna be part of what's gonna get paid out in the sale of your home. That's our point. So as a realtor, if you see, wait a minute, we're gonna sell the home for $500,000, but you still owe a mortgage of $480 and you have a child support for $80,000. You owe more than what it's worth. We should talk short sale, not resale, right? So those are things that you have to think about, or up the price more so that it covers that plus the commission, right? So these are things you have to know in advance, because now $8,000, oh, I already paid it. Oh, show me.
Show me the proof.
Show me. And I need it because I need to give it to the title officer so that he can remove that from here.
Clearing is.
You have to clear it, right? So, okay, moving forward, actually, no, number 14, we just need to make sure that people are who they say they are, right? And remember what we said, hey, it's subject to number 14 at the beginning?
Right.
Okay, subject to is not really Alan, but sometimes people actually do listen to realtors. And they say, you know what, she's right, I should put it in a living trust. In this case, this gentleman, Alan, put it in a living trust, right? In his own name, living trust.
So is it done in the same escrow at the same time?
No, after the fact.
This here was done in 2017. This was done in 2017.
When I purchase the property, can I
Do it later.
put it later?
Absolutely. Let's say right now, you don't have time, maybe you want to close escrow in 30 days, it's gonna take maybe 60 days to get the living trust. Close escrow. Close it in your name, fine. But as soon as you can, put it in a living trust, right?
Once
That's
it's in
so-
a living trust, you can record it with the county,
Yeah.
it's official.
Yep, then it becomes, like it happened here, in 2017, you recorded it, it became official, right? So this is a good understanding. Now, some things that you're gonna find in most deals that are not cash is gonna be, there is a deed of trust to secure a mortgage loan for, $208,000 even. And that means that you have to know, but this happened in 2015. So it's a conversation, you talk to the seller, how much do you owe your property? That has to be one of the questions that you ask because you're doing a net sheet, right?
Right.
Hopefully and you're using Agent 1 to get that done. And if you know what that is, let's have a one-on-one. It will show you how to have 32 calculators on your cell phone. 32 different scenario calculators to help people. But the most basic one is how much do you owe, how much you're gonna get, and so we wanna get them that net number. And so we have all that on Agent 1 from Fidelity. Okay, moving on from exceptions. Again, exceptions means everything that's, that's not here, yeah, not gonna cover it, okay? But now let's talk about the next one, Schedule B requirements. Let's talk about requirements. So in requirements, it's basically going to see all parties need to sign the SI, the Statement of Information. But if the parties are not just individuals, but if it's their LLCs, right, or if it's their revocable trusts, then a full copy of the trust agreement. Oh, well, but this person passed away. Well, let's talk about passing away. That happens all the time. People die. In fact, 100% of us
Well
are
done.
not gonna be here in 100 years. That's a promise. So, but when somebody passes away, so a couple of things. If it's an individual, we need a death certificate, and we'll need that death affidavit. And escrow will tell you all about it. You have to memorize it. Just do know that they're going to need that. If they are in a trust, they were one of the trustees.
Right.
Then we need the successors,
Right.
and we'll need an affidavit. The same thing. If there is an incapacity that the person is alive but cannot sign, then do they have a power of
Attorney.
Attorney.
POA.
POA,
Yes.
right? And so, who is it? Who is the successor? Who has the right to sign on behalf of whom? And those are questions that your escrow company are going to ask you because this is the title report. The title report does not know that this man passed away last month.
You have to let them know.
So you have to let us know the title through escrow.
Right. Agents have the responsibility to advise escrow, hey, by the way, this is what it is.
Absolutely.
You do have two forms, the RCSD, seller or buyer, and the TA, trust advisory. But of course, they'll require the death certificate. You need to send it to escrow, but don't worry, they'll give it back to you
Yes.
when the transaction's over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know it's hard, especially when, okay, let's talk about something else. Probates. Okay, so they take long, they're expensive. And that's why you want to have things in a will, living trust.
Right.
You are in a great moment when you're taking that listing to have a heart and show them, look, put it in a living trust. When you pass away, from revocable it becomes irrevocable.
Right.
Right? So that means now a will or some sort of testament, those are important things to have. I don't have a lot of money. Your local church will do one for free if you leave them a little bit, whatever. But there are different ways of doing that, right? So I encourage you to know a couple of people and be able to give, never one, always give 2 or 3, so let them choose different people that do living trusts, wills, testaments. They will thank you for it. They will thank you. Okay, so under the requirements, if it's an LLC, bring the operating agreement of the partners, bring the articles of incorporation, and there's going to be 5 things that you have to sign, and they're all there, 1 through 5, A, B, C, D, and E. If it's a living trust, bring the copy, and if it's probate, they'll tell you what to bring if it's a probate. Okay? Requirements, pretty simple. The last part is informational notes. And in informational notes, the main thing you'll see here are really going to be, are the taxes paid up to date? Now, if they're not, you'll see that in exceptions, taxes not paid up to date, you got to pay your taxes. Supplemental taxes. Read up on that again. You want to be a really good agent? Explain to them why they get that bill in November and October. Why do they get it 5 months after they move to their home? And what is a supplemental tax bill? Yes.
Yes, and I encourage all agents that are listening and watching that there is a form in one of our car forms that you will have that. So make sure that when you're listing or you have a buyer, make sure that you have this form so they know upfront. Let them know upfront because a year later they're going to call you. They're going to be very upset. Why are they going to be upset? Because you did not disclose this. So you can say, well, I didn't know about it. And then you do not have an excuse. Let them know what it is. You bought the home today, let's say for $600,000. The previous owner bought it for, let's say, $150,000. They're paying taxes based on that dollar amount. You buying it on today's date, you're bringing it up to current market value. A year later, you're going to pay supplemental taxes on a year later up to the dollar amount that you purchased when you purchased it. So it'll take time to catch up, but it'll catch up. It'll happen to all of us. And if you don't pay it, then it goes, when you pay your property taxes, it'll be on your property taxes. And if you don't pay it, it'll go to your mortgage if you have your mortgage. So they will, your mortgage payment is going to go, if you have a $2,000 payment, for instance, it could probably be $4,000.
Yes.
So
Because they add assessment fees on top of that.
late
So
fees too. If you
Late
don't pay
fees, so you want to be up to date with it.
Yes.
It's a great time to take a look at that snapshot of the property, but also of the payment of the property taxes. So with that, we have 1 minute left. It's just an honor to be here. I'll let you close us out, Julie. Any thoughts?
Well, we are thankful to you, Gabby, for allowing us to be here and go over this. It is extremely important to get familiar with the preliminary title report. as well as please remember that as soon as you get that listing agreement signed, just reach out to us so that way we can get the prelim ordered and catch all those red flags prior to you guys opening escrow.
And for those of you watching us at home, if you have any questions, please reach out to me down below, and I'll definitely share everybody's name here. And eventually they'll have their YouTube channel, and then you guys can reach out to them directly. Thank you so much for watching, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bravo! Woo!